This week's parsha is Parshat Vayishlach. We're discussing some ideas. Much of this is based on Rav Breitowitz. When that changes, I'll let you know. So the first idea we want to go through is first Yaakov is coming back home after being 20 years away, and he lets Esav know that he's coming. Esav responds aggressively. He comes to meet Yaakov with 400 soldiers. Yaakov doesn't know what to do, or doesn't know how to respond to this, doesn't know how to take it. So Yaakov actually sends gifts, and he's very obsequious. He calls Esav Adoni, right, my master, and he wants to go peacefully, to get along. He doesn't want to stir the pot. He wants things to go nicely. However, we see that that's our first response. We should always try to get along well. Then the second response by Yaakov, just in case, as a backup, is he prepares for war. He prepares to battle Esav. Now, that's a very important lesson, because we need to know that sometimes people don't want to play nice with us. They want a war, and the Jewish response is actually not to turn the other cheek, right? If someone comes against us, then try to be nice, play with them, right? Like, be submissive, be obsequious, that's fine. However, push comes to shove and things aren't going well, then go to war. After all, we have a principle about largecha, a person who comes to kill you, hashkim largo, right? Get up earlier, kill him first, right? There's no need for you to be submissive to this. That's not a mitzvah. If someone comes to kill you or to kill your family, to come and assert themselves aggressively in too strong a fashion, then you can defend yourself. And then Yaakov's third response is his prayer. That's both in his gift giving. When he gives a gift, he hopes that this gift should appease the person and that they should get along peaceably. But if it doesn't, then we also need to revert into war. And for that too, Yaakov prays. So you see that regardless of what your response is to trouble, you should always pray and have God in mind and request for his help. Now, Rav Breitowitz goes on to say that there are actually some chazals, right? There are some mamarei chazal, some statements in the Gemara that are quite critical, or in the Midrash, but there are some chazals that are quite critical, or that are a bit critical of Yaakov for this submissiveness to Esav, who's too much. They said there's actually a statement in Bava Batra, which is a masechta in the Gemara. It says as follows: that the children of Rachel will be able to fight Amalek. Amalek, by the way, was Esav's grandson, and Amalek is the nation that's the arch enemy of the Jews. So only the children of Rachel will be able to fight Amalek, not the children of Leah. Now the children of Leah are actually 6 of the tribes, right? 6 of the tribes, one of them being Yehuda, which is where Hamelech David comes from, right? The messianic line. That's one. But 2, Rachel only has 2 children. She has Yosef and Binyamin, who actually wasn't born at this point. Now, the reason why that's important is because the reason, or commentators say, the Mefarshim say, that one of the reasons for the statement in Bava Basra is because of this week's episode. So what happens when Esav comes to Yaakov? So Yaakov bows, all the children bow. It's a little bit too much. They're a little too submissive, right? And even though it's true that Yosef also bowed, his response was a little defiant to Esav, and we see this in the Psukim. Let's go to it. So in chapter 33, verse 6, I'll just read it in English. Then the handmaids came forward, they and their children. So the handmaids first, then the children. And they bowed down. Leah too came forward with her children. So Leah first, and then the children, and they bowed down. And afterwards Joseph, the child, comes first, and Rachel came forward and bowed down. So you see from this, Rashi comments, well, that's strange. Why are we mentioning Yosef first and not Rachel? That's because Yosef went in front of his mother to protect her from Esav, from any ill intentions Esav might have towards his mother. So you see from the fact that he's going to fight, he's more defiant to Esav, that gives him the ability later on to fight Amalek, the descendant of Esav. Now, what's amazing about this is Rabbi Breitowitz points out that if we see this historically, that's actually true. So again, out of Yosef came 2 tribes, Menashe and Ephraim, right? And Binyamin, too, was also one of the children of Rachel, and he wasn't there, so he wasn't so obsequious to Esav. Now let's look through it through the lens of the Tanakh, right? One, at first, Yehoshua, the first general to combat Amalek in the Midbar, right? In the same parsha of Shir Hayam, we'll see that in several weeks. Who leads the battle? Yehoshua. Yehoshua is a member of Ephraim. That's the tribe of Yosef, right? So he's the one who's battling Amalek. How about Shaul, the king who's charged with annihilating Amalek? He's from Binyamin. And in the story of Purim, it was Mordechai and Esther. They're also from the tribe of Binyamin. And by the way, finally, right, when we cut to Messianic times, that's why we need Mashiach ben Yosef, right, who comes before Mashiach ben David, right? Mashiach ben Yosef comes first, specifically to eliminate Amalek. Amazing. So that's that. And then another just short little idea that is really nice, and we can't ignore this. So we see that Yaakov comes back and he fights with this Ish, right? This very mysterious battle where they're wrestling, and at the end of the day, this angel, some say it's Saro Shel Esav, right? The Malach, the angel who protects Esav, was the one who was fighting Yaakov. So it was a spiritual battle, it was an ideological battle. So he dislodges Yaakov's hip and leaves him injured. Now, we know this is a spiritual battle, and if you were to look at the result, with Yaakov's injury, the extent of our knowledge, the Saro Shel Esav, this Ish, was actually left untouched. He seemed to be fine. So if you were to look at this, we would think that Yaakov lost, but really that's not the case. Why? Because again, this is a spiritual battle. When you talk about ideology, the first person to resort to violence, he's lost. And that's exactly what happened, because we see in, if we're backtracking, 32:26, right? When he perceived that he cannot overcome him, what happened? What did the Saro Shel Esav do? He struck the ball of Yaakov's thigh bone. So he resorted to violence once he realized that he couldn't overcome him with ideology. Shabbat Shalom.